I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Your brain is working harder than you realize right now. Processing sadness, replaying thoughts, trying to make sense of feelings that seem too heavy to hold. You'll discover why your body craves more deep sleep when emotions run deep, and understand why rest isn't weakness. It's the most profound healing. Your mind knows how to give itself. Welcome to Psychology for Sleep. Now settle in. You're in your safe space while your brain quietly sorts through the day's emotions, filing away what hurts, softening what feels sharp. Allow yourself this moment of gentleness. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about sleep and sadness, from the chemistry of tears that signals your body to rest deeper, to the nighttime repair that only happens when you surrender to sleep, to the bridge between emotional pain and the healing darkness your brain needs most. This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. A soft subscribe, like, or sharing your thoughts creates a pathway for more weary souls to discover this sanctuary and brings us closer to protect this peaceful space. One sleepy soul at a time. Your healing journey inspires ours. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep. Safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. When you're sad, your brain demands more deep sleep, not as punishment, but as medicine. Recent neuroscience research reveals that emotional distress triggers a cascade of signals in your hypothalamus, the brain's master regulator, that increases sleep pressure specifically during the deepest stages of non-REM sleep. Studies published in journals like Nature, Neuroscience, and Sleep Medicine consistently show this pattern. Your brain has evolved over millions of years to recognize when emotional pain exceeds your waking capacity to process it. Deep sleep, also called slow-wave sleep, becomes the sanctuary where your mind performs repairs that simply cannot happen while you're conscious. The theta and delta brainwaves that dominate this stage create an electrical environment where stress hormones decrease, emotional memories are reorganized, and neural inflammation begins to heal. Scientists measuring brain activity in people experiencing grief, depression, or prolonged stress consistently find the same pattern. The brain automatically extends time in deep sleep stages, sometimes by 20 to 30% more than baseline. Your body knows what you need, even when your conscious mind resists rest. Sadness isn't just a feeling, it's a full-body biological state. When you experience emotional pain, your amygdala, the almond-shaped emotion center deep in your brain, becomes hyperactive. Recent fMRI studies from Johns Hopkins University show that during periods of sadness or depression, the amygdala shows up to 40% increased activity compared to neutral emotional states, as measured by functional imaging. This heightened activity does more than create feelings. It gradually depletes your brain's energy reserves, like a candle burning at both ends. The amygdala's overactivity drains adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, the energy currency of your cells. As ATP depletes, adenosine, a sleepiness-inducing chemical, builds up in your brain tissue. The more emotionally intense your day, the more adenosine accumulates. By nighttime, your brain is flooded with this sleep pressure molecule, particularly in regions connected to emotional processing. This is why sadness makes you feel so profoundly tired. It's not weakness. It's biochemistry signaling that your mind needs the restorative power of deep, dreamless sleep. Overthinking and sadness create a vicious cycle that starves your brain of rest. When you ruminate, replaying conversations, rehashing regrets, worrying about what comes next, you activate your default mode network, or DMN. This is a constellation of brain regions, including the medial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex, that becomes active during self-referential thought. A 2025 study in Psychological Science found that people who ruminate excessively, replaying thoughts for hours each day, show significantly disrupted sleep architecture. Here's what happens. The DMN remains hyperactive even as you try to fall asleep, preventing your brain from transitioning smoothly into deep sleep stages. Your mind stays partially alert, scanning for threats, replaying scenarios, searching for solutions that won't come in the dark. Meanwhile, your body desperately needs you to descend into slow-wave sleep, where the glymphatic system, your brain's waste removal process, clears out toxic proteins and metabolic debris. Without sufficient deep sleep, these toxins accumulate, worsening both emotional regulation and cognitive function the next day. It's a loop. Sadness fuels overthinking. Overthinking disrupts deep sleep. Poor sleep intensifies sadness. Your brain experiences increased inflammation during emotional pain. While not a visible swelling, neuroimaging research from the University of California, Berkeley, published in early 2025, demonstrates that prolonged sadness triggers measurable inflammatory changes in brain regions associated with mood regulation, particularly the anterior cingulate cortex and hippocampus. Inflammatory molecules called cytokines, especially interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, increase in concentration during depressive episodes. These cytokines don't just float harmlessly. They disrupt neural signaling, interfere with neurotransmitter production, and make it harder for neurons to communicate efficiently. The result, you feel foggy, slow, disconnected. Your thoughts become sluggish. Simple decisions feel overwhelming. But here's the important discovery. Deep sleep is when your brain activates its anti-inflammatory protocols. During slow-wave sleep, glial cells expand the spaces between neurons by up to 60%, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flush through brain tissue like a cleansing tide. This process removes inflammatory cytokines and metabolic waste. When you're sad, your brain needs more of this deep sleep cleansing to counteract the inflammation sadness creates. It's not laziness. It's intelligent self-care happening at a cellular level. Crying is your body's way of preparing you for deeper sleep. Emotional tears, the kind you shed when you're sad, not from chopping onions, contain different biochemical compositions than basal or reflex tears. Research from the Weizmann Institute, published in 2024, found that emotional tears are rich in stress hormones, particularly cortisol and adrenocorticotropic hormone. When you cry, you're literally releasing these chemicals from your body. But there's more. Crying also stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest branch of your autonomic nervous system. Your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, your body temperature drops slightly. All of these are physiological precursors to sleep. Moreover, the act of crying releases oxytocin and endorphins, natural pain-relieving chemicals that create a sense of calm after the storm. Many people report feeling exhausted after a good cry. This isn't coincidence. Your body is biochemically priming itself for the deep, restorative sleep. It knows you need to recover from emotional intensity. Tears aren't just water and salt. They're your body's way of saying, "It's time to rest now. Let me help you sleep." Depression changes the architecture of your sleep in measurable ways. While healthy sleep cycles through stages: light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, in predictable patterns. Depression disrupts this rhythm. Polysomnography studies conducted at Harvard Medical School in 2024-2025 reveal that people experiencing major depressive episodes show what's called REM pressure. They enter REM sleep, the dream stage, much faster than typical, sometimes within 30 to 40 minutes instead of the usual 70 to 90. But paradoxically, they spend less total time in deep, slow wave sleep. This creates a problem. REM sleep is where you process emotional memories and experiences, often through dreams. Deep sleep is where your brain physically repairs itself, consolidates neutral, factual memories, and clears metabolic waste. When depression shifts the balance toward more REM and less deep sleep, you wake up having processed emotions all night, but without the physical and cognitive restoration deep sleep provides. This is why people with depression often report vivid, emotionally intense dreams but still feel exhausted upon waking. The brain is trying to heal, but it's not getting the deep sleep it desperately needs. Sadness depletes serotonin, and low serotonin disrupts deep sleep. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger that regulates mood, appetite, and importantly, sleep-wake cycles. When you're sad or depressed, serotonin production often decreases, particularly in the Raphe nuclei, clusters of neurons in your brainstem. But serotonin has a dual role during the day. It promotes wakefulness and emotional stability. At night, your body converts serotonin into melatonin, the hormone that makes you sleepy and helps you stay asleep. A 2025 study in Sleep Medicine Reviews found that people with depleted serotonin levels due to chronic stress or sadness show significantly reduced melatonin production at night, in some cases producing 20 to 30% less than healthy individuals. The result: difficulty falling asleep, frequent nighttime awakenings, and importantly, less time spent in deep sleep stages. Your brain simply can't generate the slow, synchronized delta waves characteristic of deep sleep without adequate serotonin to melatonin conversion. This is why sadness often comes with insomnia or fragmented sleep. Your brain wants to sleep deeply. It needs to. But the biochemical machinery required to get there is compromised. Your body temperature drops more dramatically during deep sleep, and sadness interferes with this process. Core body temperature regulation is intimately connected to sleep quality. Normally, as you prepare for sleep, your body temperature decreases by about 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit, signaling your brain that it's time to rest. This cooling is essential for entering and maintaining deep sleep. Research from the Netherlands Institute for Neuroscience, published in late 2024, discovered that people experiencing chronic sadness or depression often have dysregulated body temperature rhythms. Their core temperature stays elevated longer into the night, delaying the onset of deep sleep. The hypothalamus, which controls both emotional responses and temperature regulation, becomes less efficient when overwhelmed by stress signals. Additionally, stress hormones that are often elevated during sadness interfere with the normal nighttime temperature drop. Without this cooling, your brain struggles to generate the slow, rhythmic delta waves of deep sleep. This is why a cool bedroom environment, around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, is so important when you're emotionally distressed. You're helping your body do what it's struggling to do on its own. Cool down enough to sleep deeply. Loneliness amplifies your need for deep sleep. A fascinating 2025 study from the University of Chicago found that social isolation and perceived loneliness, which often accompany sadness, trigger the same brain regions associated with physical pain. The anterior cingulate cortex and insula light up on brain scans whether you're experiencing a broken bone or a broken heart. This neural overlap means loneliness creates genuine stress on your body, elevating cortisol and inflammatory markers. In response, your brain increases sleep pressure, particularly for deep sleep, as if trying to repair actual physical injury. Sleep becomes a refuge, a place where the pain of isolation temporarily disappears. Researchers found that lonely individuals naturally sleep longer and spend more time in slow-wave sleep compared to socially connected people facing similar stressors. Your brain recognizes that while you're awake, the emotional environment is hostile, so it tries to maximize the healing that happens in sleep's protective darkness. This isn't avoidance. It's adaptive. Your mind is doing exactly what it should, seeking the restoration it can't find while conscious. So yes, your body is already showing you why it needs more deep sleep when you're sad. From inflammatory chemicals requiring nighttime cleansing, to disrupted serotonin-melatonin pathways, to the simple exhaustion of an overworked emotional brain. Every system is pointing toward the same answer. You need to sleep more deeply, and that need is real, biological, and intelligent. Your body isn't betraying you by craving rest. It's trying to save you. Each night of deep sleep is your brain's way of saying it hasn't given up on healing, that restoration is still possible, that tomorrow can be different if you simply allow yourself the rest you need tonight. Grief, a profound form of sadness, creates what sleep researchers call hyperarousal. When you lose someone or something important, your brain enters a state of heightened alertness, as if scanning constantly for the missing person or trying to undo what cannot be undone. A 2024 study from Yale University examined the sleep patterns of recently bereaved individuals and found a notable pattern. While they desperately needed sleep, their brains showed persistent beta wave activity. The fast, alert brainwaves of waking consciousness. Even during sleep attempts, their minds wouldn't fully let go. Yet, when these individuals finally did achieve deep sleep, they spent significantly longer in slow wave stages compared to their pre-grief baseline. The brain was compensating, trying to maximize every minute of deep sleep it could capture. This explains why grief feels so exhausting, yet sleep feels so elusive. Your brain is caught between needing profound rest and being unable to stop searching, questioning, remembering. The deep sleep you do get becomes even more precious because it's the only time your hypervigilant mind truly rests. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, follows a daily rhythm that sadness disrupts. Normally, cortisol peaks in the early morning to wake you up, then gradually declines throughout the day, reaching its lowest point around midnight when deep sleep typically occurs. This is called your circadian cortisol rhythm. However, chronic sadness or depression flattens this curve. Research from King's College London, published in early 2025, shows that depressed individuals often maintain elevated cortisol levels well into the night, sometimes 2 to 3 times higher than healthy controls. Cortisol is chemically incompatible with deep sleep. It keeps your brain in a state of vigilance, preventing the neural synchronization required for slow-wave sleep. High nighttime cortisol also suppresses growth hormone, which is normally released during deep sleep to repair tissues and support immune function. This creates a cascade of problems. You can't sleep deeply because cortisol is elevated. And because you can't sleep deeply, cortisol never fully drops. It's a biochemical trap. Your body needs deep sleep to reset cortisol rhythms. But elevated cortisol prevents the deep sleep you need. This is why treating sadness sometimes begins not with emotion, but with sleep. Your hippocampus, the brain structure essential for forming new memories, shrinks when you're chronically sad and sleep-deprived. MRI studies from the Max Planck Institute in 2024 revealed that people experiencing prolonged depression show measurable hippocampal volume loss, sometimes up to 8 to 10% smaller than non-depressed individuals. But here's what's interesting. Deep sleep is when your hippocampus regenerates. During slow-wave sleep, your brain releases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, a protein that acts like fertilizer for neurons, promoting the growth of new brain cells, particularly in the hippocampus. One night of good deep sleep can increase BDNF levels by up to 30%. When you're sad, your brain compensates by trying to spend more time in deep sleep, attempting to reverse the damage chronic stress is causing. This is why people recovering from depression often sleep 10, 12, even 14 hours a day in early recovery. They're not being lazy. Their brains are literally rebuilding themselves, growing new neurons, restoring cognitive function. And all of this neurogenesis happens most actively during deep sleep. Rest is reconstruction. Emotional pain and physical pain share the same neural pathways, and both require deep sleep for healing. When you say, "I'm heartbroken," you're more scientifically accurate than you realize. A landmark 2024 study using functional MRI scans found that emotional pain activates the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex and anterior insula, the exact same brain regions that light up when you experience physical injury. Your brain processes social rejection, loss, and sadness using the pain matrix, the neural network designed to detect and respond to bodily harm. This means emotional pain creates similar inflammatory responses, elevates similar stress markers, and demands similar healing resources as a physical wound. Just as a broken bone needs immobilization to heal, emotional injury needs deep sleep. During slow-wave sleep, your brain reduces activity in these pain-processing regions, allowing them to recover. The inflammatory molecules that accumulate in response to emotional pain cytokines, prostaglandins, are cleared away by cerebrospinal fluid during deep sleep's glymphatic flush. You're not imagining that sadness hurts. It does hurt. And just like any injury, it requires rest to heal. Overthinking keeps your prefrontal cortex, the thinking, planning, decision-making part of your brain, locked in a state of exhausting hyperactivity. The prefrontal cortex is supposed to quiet down at night, allowing deeper, more primitive brain regions to take over during sleep. But when you ruminate, worry, or replay scenarios endlessly, your prefrontal cortex refuses to power down. Researchers at Stanford University, using EEG recordings in 2025, found that chronic overthinkers show persistent gamma wave activity in the prefrontal cortex even during sleep attempts. These are the fastest brain waves, associated with intense mental activity. Meanwhile, the slow delta waves of deep sleep remain suppressed. Your brain is trying to solve problems that cannot be solved through thinking alone. What it actually needs is the perspective shift that comes from deep sleep. During slow wave sleep, your brain consolidates memories, reorganizes information, and often discovers solutions that eluded you while awake. This is the origin of the phrase "sleep on it." Deep sleep doesn't just rest your brain, it reorganizes it, creating new neural connections and perspectives. But you can't access this benefit if overthinking keeps your prefrontal cortex running on overdrive all night. Sadness alters your perception of time, making nights feel longer and more oppressive. When you're depressed or deeply sad, your internal clock, regulated by the suprachiasmatic nucleus in your hypothalamus, becomes dysregulated. A 2024 study from the University of Cambridge found that depressed individuals consistently underestimate the passage of time, making every hour feel stretched and distorted. This is partly because sadness slows your cognitive processing speed and reduces dopamine, a neurotransmitter involved in time perception. During sleepless nights, this time distortion becomes torturous. Minutes feel like hours. You check the clock repeatedly, shocked that so little time has passed. But here's the paradox. When you finally achieve deep sleep, your subjective experience of time vanishes completely. Deep sleep is timeless. You lose all awareness of duration, of self, of suffering. This temporal void is part of deep sleep's healing power. It gives your consciousness a complete break from the relentless experience of time and thought. When you're sad, you need more of this timeless refuge, not just for physical restoration, but for psychological relief from the weight of stretched, heavy hours. Your gut produces 90% of your body's serotonin, and sadness disrupts this gut-brain axis. The enteric nervous system, sometimes called your second brain, is a network of over 100 million neurons lining your digestive tract. Recent research from the California Institute of Technology, published in late 2024, revealed that chronic stress and sadness alter the composition of your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your intestines. When beneficial bacteria decrease and harmful bacteria proliferate, serotonin production in the gut drops dramatically. Since serotonin is the precursor to melatonin, disrupted gut health directly impacts your ability to generate the sleep hormone you need. Moreover, gut inflammation, which increases during prolonged sadness, sends signals to your brain via the vagus nerve, triggering mood disturbances and sleep disruption. Deep sleep is when your body performs essential gut repair, reducing intestinal inflammation and allowing beneficial bacteria to recover. This is why people often notice that after several nights of deep, restorative sleep, their digestion improves, their mood lifts slightly, and their overall sense of well-being begins to return. Sleep heals not just your brain, but your entire body's interconnected systems. Seasonal changes affect both mood and deep sleep needs. Seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, affects millions of Americans. Estimates suggest 5 to 10% of the population, with symptoms peaking during fall and winter months when daylight hours shrink. Research from the National Institute of Mental Health in 2025 confirms that reduced sunlight exposure disrupts circadian rhythms and suppresses melatonin production. But interestingly, people with SAD show a compensatory increase in deep sleep duration during winter months, sometimes sleeping 1 to 2 hours more than their summer baseline. Their brains are attempting to offset the loss of mood-regulating sunlight with increased sleep-based restoration. Light exposure influences the suprachiasmatic nucleus, your brain's master clock, which coordinates both mood regulation and sleep-wake cycles. When external light cues decrease in winter, your brain compensates by strengthening internal restoration processes during deep sleep. This is why hibernation exists across the animal kingdom. It's a fundamental biological response to environmental darkness. Your winter sadness and your increased sleep need aren't separate problems. They're connected responses to the same environmental challenge. And honoring your body's need for more sleep during darker months isn't weakness. It's biological wisdom. Antidepressant medications work partly by restoring healthy sleep architecture. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, are the most commonly prescribed antidepressants. While they're known for increasing serotonin availability in your brain, research from Johns Hopkins University, published in early 2025, reveals an often overlooked mechanism. SSRIs gradually normalize disrupted sleep patterns, particularly increasing time spent in deep sleep. Depression typically suppresses slow-wave sleep while increasing REM sleep. SSRIs reverse this, allowing your brain to spend more time in the deeply restorative stages it's been missing. Interestingly, the mood improvements from antidepressants often lag behind sleep improvements by several weeks. People typically report sleeping better within the first 2 weeks of treatment, but mood elevation takes 4 to 6 weeks. This suggests that improved sleep may be one pathway through which these medications ultimately improve mood. Your brain needs sustained periods of deep sleep to rebuild depleted neurotransmitter systems, reduce inflammation, and restore normal cognitive function. Medication can help create the conditions for deep sleep, but the actual healing happens during sleep itself. The pill doesn't fix you. It helps your sleeping brain fix itself. Social connection regulates sleep through oxytocin, the bonding hormone. When you feel connected, supported, and loved, your brain releases oxytocin, particularly during physical touch, meaningful conversation, or shared experiences. Oxytocin has a powerful calming effect on your amygdala, reducing fear and anxiety responses. It also promotes the release of adenosine, the sleep pressure molecule. Research from the University of North Carolina in 2024 found that people in supportive relationships fall asleep faster and spend more time in deep sleep compared to lonely or socially disconnected individuals. Conversely, sadness often involves social withdrawal, reducing oxytocin levels and making deep sleep harder to achieve. This creates a cruel irony. When you most need the sleep-promoting benefits of connection, sadness often drives you into isolation. Yet even small moments of connection, a phone call with a friend, petting an animal, watching a comforting show, can trigger modest oxytocin release. Slightly easing the path towards sleep, your body craves both connection and deep sleep when sad because they activate overlapping healing pathways. Sometimes the best sleep aid isn't a pill, it's reaching out, even briefly, to another living being. Your muscles release stress through sleep. When you're sad or anxious, your body holds tension. Shoulders tighten, jaw clench, neck stiffens. This chronic muscle tension isn't just uncomfortable. It perpetuates stress signals back to your brain through proprioceptive feedback loops. Your brain reads tight muscles as danger still present and maintains vigilance, suppressing deep sleep. During slow wave sleep, your muscles enter their deepest state of relaxation. Muscle tone drops to near paralysis levels, allowing accumulated tension to finally release. This physical relaxation sends calming signals back to your brain via the vagus nerve, reinforcing the message that it's safe to stay in deep sleep. A 2025 study from the University of Arizona found that people who practice progressive muscle relaxation before bed, deliberately tensing and then releasing muscle groups, fall into deep sleep 15 to 20 minutes faster than those who don't. The technique works because it mimics what happens naturally during deep sleep, priming your body for the profound relaxation it craves. When sadness makes your body a knot of tension, you need extra time in deep sleep to physically unwind, releasing stress that's been held not just in your mind, but in your very muscles and fascia. Dreams during REM sleep help you process emotions, but deep sleep helps you forget unnecessary emotional details. This division of labor is essential for mental health. Research from the University of California, Berkeley, published in 2024, reveals that deep sleep acts as an emotional filter. During slow-wave sleep, your brain reactivates emotional memories, but without the accompanying stress hormone release. This allows you to retain the factual content of emotional experiences while gradually stripping away the intense emotional charge. Over successive nights of deep sleep, traumatic or sad memories become less viscerally painful. The facts remain. You still remember what happened, but the emotional sting diminishes. People experiencing inadequate deep sleep show impaired emotional regulation and are more likely to ruminate on negative experiences. Each memory replay during the day re-triggers the full emotional intensity because deep sleep hasn't had a chance to dampen the response. This is why after a terrible day, one good night of deep sleep can shift your perspective. The events didn't change, but your brain's emotional response to them has been recalibrated during the night. Sleep doesn't erase pain, but it makes pain more bearable. Your immune system depends on deep sleep to function, and sadness weakens immunity. When you're chronically sad or stressed, your body produces fewer natural killer cells, D cells, and antibodies, the warriors of your immune system. A 2025 study from Carnegie Mellon University found that people experiencing depression are 3 times more likely to develop infections compared to mentally healthy individuals with similar lifestyles. But deep sleep is when your immune system rebuilds. During slow-wave sleep, your body increases production of protective cytokines, different from inflammatory cytokines, that help fight infection and regulate immune responses. Growth hormone, released primarily during deep sleep, stimulates immune cell production in your bone marrow. If sadness is disrupting your deep sleep, you're caught in a dangerous spiral. Weakened immunity makes you more vulnerable to illness, and illness further disrupts sleep and mood. This is why depression is increasingly understood as a whole-body inflammatory condition, not just a mental problem. Your brain needs deep sleep to regulate both emotional well-being and physical immunity. They're not separate systems. They're deeply interconnected, and both rely on the restoration that happens in sleep's darkest, quietest hours. Childhood experiences shape your adult relationship with sleep and sadness. Adverse childhood experiences, trauma, neglect, loss, create lasting changes in stress response systems. Research from Harvard Medical School, tracking individuals over 20 years, found that adults who experienced childhood trauma show persistently disrupted sleep architecture, including reduced deep sleep and difficulty staying asleep. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis, which regulates stress hormones, becomes hypersensitive. Even minor stressors trigger exaggerated cortisol responses, disrupting sleep. These individuals also show altered brain structure in regions that regulate both emotion and sleep, particularly in the prefrontal cortex and amygdala. But here's the hopeful part. Consistent, high-quality deep sleep can gradually recalibrate these systems. Therapeutic interventions that improve sleep, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, mindfulness practices, sometimes medication, can help rewire stress responses over time. Your nervous system retains plasticity, the ability to change throughout life. Deep sleep is the environment where this neuroplasticity flourishes. Each night of restored deep sleep is a small step toward healing patterns established long ago. Your past shaped your current sleep struggles, but your present sleep can reshape your future resilience. These first 25 facts reveal a pattern emerging. Sadness isn't a flaw in your character. It's a biological state affecting every system in your body, from inflammation in your brain to cortisol in your blood, from bacteria in your gut to neurons in your hippocampus. And threading through all of it is a consistent message. Your body responds to sadness by increasing the need for deep sleep, not because you're weak, but because deep sleep is where every one of these disrupted systems finds restoration. The question isn't, why am I sleeping so much when I'm sad? The real question is, how does sleep heal sadness? And we're about to discover exactly how. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each sensation without judgment. Your heart beating steadily, your lungs filling and emptying, your muscles beginning to soften. Perhaps there's tension in your shoulders, tightness in your chest, heaviness in your limbs. Just notice it. Don't try to fix it. Your body is carrying so much for you. Even now, as you rest here, billions of cells are working to restore balance, to clear inflammation, to prepare you for the healing that comes in deep sleep. You don't need to do anything. Your body already knows what it needs. Now we continue. Deep sleep is when your brain creates space for healing. And that's quite literal. During waking hours, neurons and their support cells occupy brain tissue densely. By the end of the day, metabolic waste products and cellular debris have accumulated in the tight spaces between cells. Research from the University of Rochester in 2024 using 2-photon microscopy revealed something elegant. During deep sleep, the spaces between brain cells expand by up to 60% as support cells, called astrocytes, contract slightly, widening the channels through which cerebrospinal fluid flows. Imagine streets becoming wider to allow traffic flow. Cerebrospinal fluid rushes into these expanded spaces, washing through brain tissue at rates up to 10 times faster than during wakefulness. According to research from the University of Rochester Medical Center, this is the glymphatic system in action. Your brain's nighttime cleaning crew. All the metabolic waste, inflammatory molecules, even misfolded proteins like beta amyloid that contribute to Alzheimer's disease. All are flushed out during deep sleep. When you're sad and not getting enough deep sleep, these toxins accumulate, creating a fog of cognitive dysfunction that worsens both mood and mental clarity. Your brain literally needs this expanded space to clean itself, and it can only create this space during deep sleep. Sleep pressure builds like a reservoir behind a dam. The longer you're awake, the more adenosine accumulates in your brain, particularly in the basal forebrain. Adenosine is a byproduct of cellular energy use. Every time a neuron fires, it breaks down ATP and produces adenosine as waste. As adenosine levels rise, you feel increasingly drowsy. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors, temporarily preventing you from feeling this sleepiness. But when you're sad, adenosine production increases faster because your emotional brain regions are working overtime, burning through energy. A 2025 study from the University of Wisconsin measured adenosine levels in depressed versus healthy individuals and found that depressed people accumulated adenosine notably faster during waking hours. In some studies, showing accumulation rates 20 to 50% higher than healthy control. This creates intense sleep pressure, making them feel exhausted earlier and crave longer sleep. Once asleep, adenosine levels drop slowly during the first sleep cycles, but plummet dramatically during deep sleep stages. This is why even a short period of deep sleep can make you feel more refreshed than hours of light. Fragmented sleep. Your brain needs deep sleep to clear the adenosine backlog. And when you're sad, that backlog builds faster. Your brain waves during deep sleep are remarkably slow, less than 4 cycles per second. These delta waves are the slowest brain rhythms you'll ever produce while alive. During waking consciousness, your brain fires at beta frequencies of 13 to 30 cycles per second. Fast, choppy, active. Light sleep slows to theta waves, around 4 to 8 cycles per second. But deep sleep drops into delta territory, half a cycle to 4 cycles per second. Imagine the difference between a hummingbird's frantic wing beats and the slow, rolling motion of ocean swells. This radical slowing is essential. Research from MIT published in 2024 shows that delta waves synchronize neural firing across vast distances in the brain, allowing different regions to coordinate restoration processes. Your prefrontal cortex, emotional centers, memory systems, all sync up to these slow, powerful delta rhythms. When you're sad and ruminating, your brain struggles to slow down from beta waves to delta waves. The transition takes longer, and you spend less total time in deep delta sleep. This is why overthinking is so destructive to sleep quality. It's physiologically preventing your brain from shifting into the slow wave state it desperately needs for emotional and cognitive recovery. Growth hormone surges during deep sleep, and this hormone does far more than help children grow. Human growth hormone, or HGH, is released in pulses throughout the day, but the largest surge, accounting for up to 75% of daily secretion, occurs during the first deep sleep cycle of the night. Growth hormone isn't just for growing taller. It repairs damaged tissues, builds muscle, strengthens bones, and importantly for our topic, stimulates neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons. A 2024 study from the Karolinska Institute found that people deprived of deep sleep show up to 50% reduction in growth hormone release. For children, this impairs physical development. For adults, especially those dealing with sadness, it impairs brain repair. Remember how depression affects the hippocampus? Growth hormone released during deep sleep is part of the recovery process, stimulating BDNF and promoting the growth of new neural connections. When sadness disrupts deep sleep, growth hormone release drops, slowing down brain recovery. This creates another challenging cycle. You need deep sleep to produce the growth hormone that helps your brain heal from sadness. But sadness disrupts the deep sleep that produces growth hormone. Temperature regulation during deep sleep helps regulate inflammation. Your body's core temperature reaches its lowest point about 2 to 3 hours after falling asleep, typically bottoming out around 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. This temperature nadir occurs during deep sleep phases and isn't coincidental. It's essential for inflammation control. Research from the University of Amsterdam in 2025 demonstrates that lowered body temperature during deep sleep reduces the activity of inflammatory cells called microglia in the brain. When your core temperature drops, microglia shift from their activated inflammatory state into a resting, repair-oriented state. They stop producing inflammatory cytokines and instead focus on clearing cellular debris and supporting neural repair. When you're sad, chronic inflammation keeps body temperature slightly elevated throughout the night. Preventing this beneficial temperature drop, your brain never fully shifts into anti-inflammatory mode. This is one reason why cooling your sleep environment is so important when dealing with sadness. By helping your body achieve a lower core temperature during sleep, you facilitate the anti-inflammatory processes that happen during deep sleep, supporting both physical and emotional healing. Magnesium levels affect both mood and deep sleep. Magnesium is a mineral involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including neurotransmitter synthesis and nervous system regulation. Research from the University of Leeds in 2024 found that between 30 and 50% of people in Western countries may have suboptimal magnesium levels due to modern agricultural practices that deplete soil of minerals. Low magnesium is associated with both depression and sleep disturbances, particularly reduced deep sleep. Here's why. Magnesium helps regulate GABA receptors in your brain. GABA is the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, the brake pedal that calms neural activity and promotes sleep. Without adequate magnesium, GABA function is impaired, making it harder to transition into deep sleep. Additionally, magnesium helps regulate the HPA axis, reducing the excessive cortisol production that characterizes chronic sadness. Studies show that magnesium supplementation, particularly magnesium glycinate or threonate, can increase deep sleep duration by 20 to 30 minutes per night and reduce depressive symptoms within 8 to 12 weeks. Sometimes the biochemistry of sadness isn't just about neurotransmitters, but about foundational minerals that make neurotransmitter systems work properly. Your body's cry for deep sleep might partly be a cry for magnesium. Memory consolidation during deep sleep protects you from rumination. When you experience something during the day, a conversation, a disappointment, a worry, the memory initially forms in your hippocampus as an unstable, temporary trace. During deep sleep, these memories are replayed and gradually transferred to your neocortex for long-term storage. Research from the German Center for Neurodegenerative Diseases in 2025 discovered something valuable. During this transfer process, emotional memories are selectively edited. The factual content is preserved, but the emotional intensity is reduced. Your brain essentially decides, this is worth remembering, but not worth feeling this strongly about forever. If you don't get adequate deep sleep, memories remain in the hippocampus, unstable and emotionally raw. You wake up and those memories trigger the same intense emotional response, fueling rumination. But after sufficient deep sleep, the memories have been filed away in the neocortex with dampened emotional tags. You can recall what happened without reliving the full emotional intensity. This is how deep sleep breaks the rumination cycle, not by erasing memories, but by reorganizing them in a way that makes them less emotionally overwhelming. Sleep doesn't change the past, but it changes how the past affects your present. Heart rate variability increases during deep sleep, a sign of nervous system healing. Heart rate variability, or HRV, measures the variation in time between consecutive heartbeats. Higher HRV indicates a healthy, flexible nervous system that can respond adaptively to stress. Lower HRV is associated with chronic stress, anxiety, and depression. During deep sleep, your heart rate slows and becomes more variable as your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and repair branch, takes over completely. Research from the HeartMath Institute in 2024 found that people who spend more time in deep sleep show higher HRV upon waking, indicating better stress resilience throughout the day. Conversely, individuals with depression typically have low HRV and spend less time in deep sleep, creating a feedback loop. But here's the encouraging part: interventions that improve deep sleep, meditation, breathing exercises, improved sleep hygiene, increase HRV over time, gradually restoring nervous system balance. Each night of deep sleep is like a training session for your nervous system, teaching it to relax, to recover, to respond flexibly rather than rigidly to life's challenges. Your heart's rhythm during sleep reflects the healing that's happening in your entire nervous system. Alcohol disrupts deep sleep even though it makes you drowsy. Many people dealing with sadness turn to alcohol as a sleep aid. While alcohol does increase drowsiness and can help you fall asleep faster, it severely disrupts sleep quality, particularly deep sleep. Research from the London Sleep Centre, published in 2025, found that even moderate alcohol consumption, 2 drinks for men, 1 for women, reduces deep sleep time by up to 40%. Here's what happens. Alcohol is metabolized relatively quickly, usually within a few hours. As blood alcohol levels drop during the night, your body experiences a rebound effect. Increased arousal, fragmented sleep, and more time spent in light sleep stages instead of restorative deep sleep. Additionally, alcohol suppresses REM sleep early in the night but causes REM rebound later, leading to vivid, emotionally intense dreams that can wake you up. For someone already struggling with sadness and sleep disruption, alcohol makes the problem worse, not better. You might fall asleep faster, but you wake up having missed the deep, healing sleep your brain needs most. The temporary sedation isn't worth the cost to sleep architecture. When you're sad, you need real rest, not chemical unconsciousness. Exercise promotes deep sleep, but timing matters. Physical activity increases adenosine production, creating greater sleep pressure. It also raises body temperature temporarily, and the post-exercise temperature drop signals your body that it's time to rest. Multiple studies from 2024 confirm that regular aerobic exercise increases deep sleep duration by 15 to 20%. However, exercising too close to bedtime, within 3 to 4 hours, can be counterproductive. The stimulating effects of exercise, including elevated cortisol and adrenaline, take several hours to fully subside. For people dealing with sadness, exercise offers dual benefits. It directly improves mood through endorphin and serotonin release, and it enhances sleep quality that same night. The key is timing. Morning or early afternoon exercise provides the best combination of mood elevation, adenosine accumulation, and sufficient time for stimulating hormones to clear before bedtime. Even gentle movement, walking, stretching, yoga, can improve deep sleep. Your body evolved to move during the day and rest deeply at night. When sadness makes you sedentary, you lose both the mood benefits of movement and the sleep benefits that follow physical activity. Sometimes the path to deeper sleep begins with simply moving your body while the sun is still up. Blue light from screens suppresses melatonin, making deep sleep harder to achieve. Your eyes contain specialized photoreceptors called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells that detect blue light wavelengths around 480 nanometers. These cells send signals directly to your suprachiasmatic nucleus, your brain's master clock, essentially saying it's daytime. Stay alert. Modern screens, phones, tablets, computers, televisions emit substantial blue light. Research from Harvard Medical School in 2024 found that 2 hours of evening screen exposure can suppress melatonin production by up to 50% and delay sleep onset by over an hour. More importantly, even after falling asleep, the lingering effects of blue light exposure reduce time spent in deep sleep stages. When you're already sad and struggling with sleep, evening screen time compounds the problem. Many people with depression scroll through phones before bed, either seeking distraction or feeling too restless to sleep. But this behavior is perpetuating the very problem it's trying to escape. Blue light tells your brain to stay alert when it desperately needs to wind down. If you can't avoid screens, blue light filtering glasses or device night mode settings help, though they're not perfect. The best approach is dim, warm lighting and screen-free time in the hour before bed, allowing melatonin to rise naturally and prepare your brain for the deep sleep it needs. breathing patterns change during deep sleep in ways that benefit your brain. During waking hours and light sleep, your breathing is relatively fast and shallow, 12 to 20 breaths per minute. As you descend into deep sleep, breathing slows to 6 to 10 breaths per minute and becomes remarkably regular, almost metronomic. This slow, deep breathing isn't random. It's optimizing gas exchange for brain repair. Research from Boston University in 2025, using advanced MRI techniques, discovered that slow breathing during deep sleep creates rhythmic waves of cerebrospinal fluid that pulse through brain tissue, synchronized with delta brain waves. Each slow breath helps pump fresh fluid through the glymphatic system, enhancing waste removal. Carbon dioxide levels rise slightly during deep sleep, which paradoxically improves oxygen delivery to brain tissue through the Bohr effect. When you're sad and experiencing shallow, anxious breathing during the day, this pattern often persists into sleep, preventing you from achieving the deep, slow breathing rhythm that facilitates optimal brain cleansing. Practicing slow breathing exercises before bed, 4 counts in, 6 counts out, can train your nervous system to more easily shift into the deep breathing pattern of restorative sleep. Your breath is a bridge between conscious control and automatic healing. Each slow exhale is a signal to your body. It's safe to rest deeply now. Napping can supplement deep sleep, but only if done correctly. When you're sad and exhausted, napping seems like an obvious solution. Research from NASA and the National Sleep Foundation shows that strategic naps can improve alertness and performance. However, the relationship between napping and nighttime deep sleep is complex. Short naps of 20 to 30 minutes, taken in early afternoon, can provide a refreshing boost without significantly affecting nighttime sleep. But longer naps, especially those exceeding 90 minutes or taken late in the day, reduce sleep pressure by allowing adenosine levels to drop. When bedtime arrives, you have less accumulated sleep pressure, making it harder to fall asleep and reducing the intensity of deep sleep stages. A 2024 study from the Sleep Research Society found that depressed individuals who nap longer than 1 hour during the day show 30% less deep sleep at night compared to those who don't nap or who take brief naps. If you're struggling with sadness and need to nap, aim for 20 to 30 minutes, no later than 3 p.m. This provides temporary relief without sabotaging the prolonged deep sleep your brain needs at night. Sometimes the answer isn't more total sleep throughout the day, but consolidated, high-quality deep sleep during the night. Childhood sleep patterns predict adult resilience to sadness. Longitudinal studies tracking children into adulthood reveal valuable patterns. Children who consistently get adequate deep sleep, at least 8 to 10 hours nightly with good sleep hygiene, develop stronger emotional regulation skills and show greater resilience to depression in adulthood. Research from the University of Pittsburgh following subjects over 20 years found that sleep quality during childhood and adolescence is one of the strongest predictors of adult mental health, even controlling for factors like family income, trauma exposure, and genetics. Why? Because deep sleep during these formative periods allows the prefrontal cortex, the brain's emotional control center, to develop properly. Sleep deprivation during these formative years impairs the connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and amygdala, making emotional regulation harder throughout life. For adults reading this who struggled with sleep as children, This isn't deterministic. Your brain retains plasticity. But it does explain why some people seem more vulnerable to sadness and sleep disruption than others. The good news: prioritizing deep sleep now can gradually strengthen those regulatory circuits. Even in adulthood, it's never too late to give your brain the consistent deep sleep it needs to build emotional resilience. Each night of restorative sleep is a small investment in long-term mental health. Halfway through our journey, the answer is emerging. Your body needs more deep sleep when sad, because sadness is fundamentally a state of biological dysregulation. Disrupted neurotransmitters, elevated inflammation, accumulated stress hormones, impaired immune function, and exhausted emotional processing systems. Deep sleep is the only state in which all of these systems can simultaneously recalibrate. No pill, no therapy session, no amount of positive thinking can replace what happens in your brain during deep, slow-wave sleep. Your body isn't failing you when it demands more rest. It's trying to save you through the most powerful healing process it possesses. You're still here with me. Thoughts still flickering like candle light. Just notice. Don't judge. Just notice where your mind is. We're exploring the science of sadness and sleep, the very connection your body is experiencing right now. As this gentle journey brings you peace, a soft like or subscribe helps another tired soul discover this same quiet sanctuary. One peaceful night, one sleepy soul at a time. Let's drift onward together. Now we move deeper, toward understanding not just that your body needs more deep sleep when sad, but how deep sleep specifically heals emotional pain. The mechanisms are more elegant than you might imagine. During deep sleep, your amygdala, that overactive alarm system, finally quiets. fMRI studies show that amygdala activity during deep sleep drops to its lowest levels of the entire 24-hour cycle, sometimes reducing by 60% compared to waking baseline. This isn't just correlation. It's a necessary recalibration. Think of your amygdala like a smoke detector that's become hypersensitive, triggering at the slightest hint of danger. Deep sleep is when that sensitivity dial gets readjusted. Without this nightly recalibration, your amygdala becomes progressively more reactive, perceiving threats in neutral situations and intensifying anxiety alongside sadness. One night of poor sleep makes you emotionally reactive the next day. Irritable, tearful, easily upset. Multiple nights compound the effect. But even a single night of sufficient deep sleep can partially reset this hypersensitivity, reducing emotional reactivity by measurable degrees the following day. Norepinephrine, a stress neurotransmitter, completely shuts off during deep sleep. This is notable. Norepinephrine keeps you alert, vigilant, ready to respond to threats. It's elevated during sadness, particularly when sadness involves anxiety or hypervigilance. But research from the University of California, Berkeley, in 2024, discovered that during deep sleep, norepinephrine production in the locus coeruleus, a tiny brainstem nucleus, stops entirely. Deep sleep is the only time your brain is completely free of this stress chemical. This creates a unique neurochemical environment where emotional memories can be processed without triggering a stress response. Your brain can replay difficult experiences during deep sleep without the accompanying norepinephrine surge that would reinforce fear or anxiety. Over multiple nights, This norepinephrine-free processing gradually weakens the association between memories and stress responses. The memory remains, but it no longer triggers the same fight or flight reaction. This is part of why PTSD and depression, both involving intrusive, emotionally charged memories, improve with treatments that enhance deep sleep. You need a safe space to confront difficult experiences without your stress system activating. And deep sleep is that space. Your brain's waste clearance system becomes remarkably efficient during deep sleep. The glymphatic system works up to 10 times faster during deep sleep than during wakefulness. According to research from the University of Rochester Medical Center, during deep sleep, cerebrospinal fluid flows through widened channels between brain cells, carrying away metabolic waste products, including beta amyloid, tau proteins, inflammatory cytokines, and oxidative stress molecules. A 2025 study using injectable fluorescent tracers found that this clearance efficiency varies dramatically by sleep stage. Minimal during wakefulness, modest during light sleep, and highly effective during deep sleep. When you're sad, inflammatory molecules accumulate faster due to chronic stress. If you're not getting enough deep sleep, these toxins build up, creating a literally toxic brain environment that worsens both mood and cognitive function. This is why, after several bad nights of sleep, everything feels harder. Thinking is foggy. Emotions are overwhelming. Simple tasks feel impossible. Your brain is trying to function while drowning in its own waste products. Deep sleep is the only effective way to clear this metabolic backlog. Emotional memory consolidation involves a subtle selection process. Not every experience from your day is worth keeping. During deep sleep, your hippocampus replays memories from the day, and your brain essentially decides which ones to consolidate into long-term storage and which to let fade. Research from New York University in 2024 found that emotionally neutral information is primarily consolidated during deep sleep, while emotionally charged information is processed more during REM sleep. But here's the nuanced part. Deep sleep sets the stage for emotional processing by first clearing mental clutter. Think of it like organizing a cluttered desk. You first need to throw away the unnecessary papers before you can properly file the important documents. Deep sleep clears away irrelevant information, random worries, and trivial anxieties, making space for more important emotional processing during REM sleep. When you're sad and not getting enough deep sleep, your brain becomes overwhelmed with unprocessed information. Important memories can't be consolidated because there's no space. You wake up feeling mentally cluttered, unable to prioritize, everything feeling equally urgent and overwhelming. Deep sleep restores mental clarity by eliminating the noise. Sleep spindles, brief bursts of brain activity during deep sleep, protect memories from interference. Sleep spindles are sudden bursts of 12 to 16 cycles per second brain activity, lasting half a second to 2 seconds. They appear during stage 2 sleep, just before transitioning into deep sleep. Research from MIT in 2025 discovered that sleep spindles act like save buttons, locking in memories so they're not overwritten or corrupted by new information. People who generate more sleep spindles show better memory consolidation and emotional regulation. Interestingly, chronic stress and sadness reduce sleep spindle frequency and duration. Your brain is trying to protect important memories, but the stress machinery is interfering with the process. practices that improve deep sleep, particularly magnesium supplementation and meditation. Increase sleep spindle density. Each spindle is a tiny moment of cognitive protection, ensuring that what you need to remember is safely stored. When sadness disrupts your sleep spindles, you lose not just sleep quality, but the very mechanism that protects your mind's memories from chaos. Restoring deep sleep means restoring these protective bursts of activity that keep your mental library organized. Emotional tears shed during the day create a biochemical imperative for deep sleep at night. When you cry, you're releasing stress hormones and inflammatory markers through your tears. But crying also depletes specific neurotransmitters and creates temporary imbalances in your sodium and potassium levels. Electrolytes, essential for neural function. Research from the Weizmann Institute in 2024 found that people who cry frequently during depressive episodes showed distinct biochemical signatures: elevated cortisol, depleted serotonin, and disrupted electrolyte balance. Your body responds to this by increasing sleep pressure, particularly for deep sleep, because that's when electrolyte balance is restored and neurotransmitter synthesis ramps up. During deep sleep, your brain produces fresh supplies of serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine, replenishing what was lost to emotional stress. If you've been crying, feeling heavy sadness, or experiencing emotional exhaustion, your increased need for deep sleep isn't emotional weakness. It's biochemical restoration. Your body is literally rebuilding the chemical foundation of stable mood. And it can only do this work efficiently during deep sleep. Synaptic homeostasis, the balance of neural connection strength, is restored during deep sleep. Throughout the day, as you learn, experience, and think, synapses, the connections between neurons, strengthen. This is how learning happens. But if synapses only strengthened without any counterbalancing, your brain would become oversaturated, unable to encode new information. The synaptic homeostasis hypothesis, refined through research from the University of Wisconsin, Madison in 2025, proposes that deep sleep is when overall synaptic strength is reduced or downscaled. This isn't forgetting, it's optimization. Weaker, less important synaptic connections are pruned away, while stronger, more important connections are preserved. This creates space and energy for new learning the next day. When you're sad, ruminating on the same thoughts repeatedly strengthens those particular synaptic pathways excessively. Deep sleep should downscale these rumination circuits, but inadequate deep sleep prevents this. You wake up and immediately fall back into the same thought patterns because the neural circuits weren't pruned overnight. Sufficient deep sleep literally weakens the neural pathways of rumination, making it easier to shift attention to new thoughts. This is biological hope. You're not permanently trapped in negative thinking. Your brain just needs enough deep sleep to reorganize itself. Temperature, light, and sound. The three environmental factors most affecting deep sleep all require careful management when you're sad. Research from the National Sleep Foundation's 2024 report emphasizes that environmental optimization becomes especially important during emotional distress. Cool temperatures of 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 to 20 degrees Celsius facilitate the core temperature drop needed for deep sleep. Complete darkness signals your suprachiasmatic nucleus to maintain melatonin production. Minimal noise prevents arousals from deep sleep stages. When you're sad, your brain is already struggling to achieve deep sleep due to internal factors. Stress hormones, inflammatory markers, racing thoughts. If your environment adds additional obstacles, you're fighting a battle on two fronts. Many people underestimate environmental factors, focusing only on thoughts and feelings. But your biology doesn't distinguish between internal and external stressors. It just registers whether conditions are optimal for deep sleep. Blackout curtains, earplugs or white noise machines, and a programmable thermostat aren't luxuries when you're dealing with sadness. They're essential tools for supporting the deep sleep your brain desperately needs. Sometimes, healing emotional pain starts with something as simple as making your bedroom colder and darker. Gratitude practices before bed shift brain activity toward patterns that facilitate deep sleep. While this might sound like pop psychology, there's solid neuroscience behind it. Research from UCLA's Mindfulness Awareness Research Center in 2024 found that people who spend 5 minutes before bed writing down or mentally reviewing things they're grateful for show increased activity in the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, a brain region associated with reward, emotional regulation, and positive affect. This brain region has inhibitory connections to the amygdala, essentially acting as a brake on fear and anxiety responses. Activating it before sleep helps quiet the amygdala more efficiently as you transition into deep sleep. Additionally, gratitude practices increase parasympathetic nervous system activity, lowering heart rate and blood pressure, creating the physiological conditions conducive to deep sleep. When you're sad, gratitude can feel forced or even insulting. How can you be grateful when everything hurts, but the practice isn't about denying pain? It's about creating small neural pathways toward different emotional states. Even noting tiny gratitudes, clean water, a soft pillow, one kind word, activates reward circuitry and makes deep sleep slightly more accessible. It's not a cure, but it's a tool. We've now reached the halfway point of understanding. The pattern is clear. Sadness creates biological chaos, inflammation, stress hormones, neurotransmitter depletion, immune suppression. Deep sleep is the universal counteragent, the state in which every disrupted system finds restoration. But we've moved beyond just understanding the problem. We're beginning to see the solution. Deep sleep isn't passive unconsciousness. It's active healing, a sophisticated biological program running in the darkness, repairing what the day damaged. And you're not powerless. Every choice you make, cooling your room, limiting screens, practicing breathing exercises, either facilitates or hinders this healing program. Your sadness is real. Your need for more deep sleep is valid. And now you understand why. Let each breath guide you to realize time is yours, a separate stream that only you are living. While thoughts race and spin, trying to solve what cannot be solved through thinking alone. This second you're breathing, listening, is unique. The overthinking doesn't define you. It's just weather passing through the landscape of your mind. Notice, the thoughts are there, but you are the space in which they appear. You are the silence beneath the noise. You don't have to control your thoughts. Just rest in the space between them. And we continue drifting. We now enter a different kind of understanding. moving from mechanics to meaning. Yes, deep sleep clears waste and regulates hormones. But there's something more profound happening. Deep sleep is your mind's way of surrendering. During waking hours, you maintain control over your body, your thoughts, your reactions. Even during light sleep and REM dreams, there's a sense of self, of experience. But deep sleep dissolves the boundaries. Your sense of self fades. You're no longer thinking about thinking, worrying about worrying. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network deactivation. Your brain stops asking, "What does this mean for me?" and simply exists. This dissolution is terrifying to a mind that's been trying desperately to solve its sadness through control and analysis. But it's also liberating. For a few hours, you're released from the exhausting work of being a conscious self. Your brain knows what your conscious mind resists. Sometimes healing requires not trying, not thinking, not controlling, just surrendering into darkness. Ancient sleep wisdom aligns with modern science. Cultures around the world, long before neuroscience, understood that grief and sadness require more sleep. Traditional Chinese medicine speaks of qi depletion during emotional distress, prescribing rest as primary treatment. Ayurvedic medicine recognizes that disturbed vata, the principle of movement and thought, is calmed through deep sleep and stillness. Indigenous healing practices often include extended rest periods following loss or trauma. These weren't superstitions. They were observations across thousands of years that emotional pain exhausts something fundamental in human beings, something that can only be restored through extended, deep rest. Modern sleep research validates what healers have known intuitively. The body-mind cannot heal emotional wounds through willpower or activity alone. There is wisdom in the human body that predates science. A wisdom that says, when your heart hurts, sleep longer. When your mind won't rest, rest your body. When everything feels broken, trust that darkness heals. Dreams change during sadness, becoming more vivid, more emotionally intense, sometimes frightening. This isn't random. Your REM sleep, the dreaming stage, increases proportionally when sadness is present, as if your mind is working overtime to process emotional material. But REM sleep and deep sleep often compete for time within your limited sleep period. If REM is increased, deep sleep may be crowded out unless you sleep longer. This is one reason why depression often involves sleeping 10 to 12 hours but still waking unrefreshed. Your brain is caught in intensive emotional processing during REM without adequate deep sleep for physical restoration. Understanding this can shift perspective. Those intense dreams aren't torturing you. They're your brain's desperate attempt to work through pain. But for the system to work properly, you need both. Enough REM for emotional processing and enough deep sleep for biological restoration. This often means sleeping longer than you're used to. And that's okay. Your brain needs time to do both kinds of healing. There's a paradox in deep sleep. You're unconscious, yet healing is happening with exquisite precision. Your conscious mind isn't directing the process. You have no awareness of glymphatic fluid flowing, synapses being pruned, memories being consolidated. Yet somehow, your body knows exactly what to do. This reveals something profound. Healing intelligence exists independent of conscious thought. You don't need to figure out how to reduce inflammation in your hippocampus or recalibrate your HPA axis. Your sleeping brain already knows. This is humbling for minds that believe healing comes through understanding, analysis, and control. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is stop trying to be smart. Stop analyzing your sadness. Stop trying to think your way out. Just sleep. Let the ancient biological wisdom that kept your ancestors alive through famines, wars, losses, and countless griefs do what it knows how to do. Deep sleep is your body saying, "I've got this." You rest. I'll handle the repairs. Sleep is inherently an act of trust. Every night, you render yourself vulnerable, unconscious, defenseless. For anxious or sad minds, this vulnerability feels dangerous. What if something happens while you're asleep? What if you lose control? What if the sadness is even worse when you wake? These fears can create a resistance to sleep, even though your body desperately needs it. Research from the University of Pennsylvania in 2025 identifies this as sleep anxiety, fear of sleep itself, which is surprisingly common in depression and anxiety disorders. The irony is devastating. You're too afraid to do the very thing that would help heal your fear. If this resonates, start small. Practice trusting sleep for just 20 minutes during a daytime nap. Notice you survived. Nothing terrible happened. Gradually, you can extend that trust to nighttime sleep. Deep sleep requires surrender, and surrender requires trust. You're learning not just to sleep, but to trust that tomorrow will come, that you're safe enough to let go, that darkness isn't an enemy, but a healer. Sleeping alongside someone you trust can enhance deep sleep through physiological synchrony. When romantic partners or close friends sleep in proximity, their heart rates, breathing patterns, and even brain waves begin to synchronize. Research from the University of Arizona in 2024 found that couples in healthy relationships show increased slow-wave sleep when sleeping together compared to sleeping alone. The presence of a trusted person activates your parasympathetic nervous system, creating a sense of safety that deepens relaxation. Conversely, sleeping with someone who creates stress through conflict, snoring, or different sleep schedules can disrupt deep sleep. When you're sad, the question becomes, does sleeping near this person increase or decrease your sense of safety? There's no shame in needing to sleep alone during difficult periods if that's what allows deeper rest, or in seeking the comfort of presence if that's what soothes your nervous system. Your deep sleep needs are the priority. Sometimes healing means rearranging sleeping arrangements, having difficult conversations, or honoring that you need solitude or companionship in ways that differ from usual patterns. Your body knows what it needs to feel safe enough to sleep deeply. Medication can facilitate deep sleep, but it's not the same as natural deep sleep. Sleep medications, whether prescription pills like zolpidem or over-the-counter antihistamines, can help you lose consciousness. But the architecture of medicated sleep differs from natural sleep. Research comparing polysomnography data from 2024 shows that many sleep medications increase total sleep time, but don't proportionally increase slow-wave sleep. Some actually suppress it. You sleep longer, but not necessarily deeper. This doesn't mean medication is useless. For some people in severe sleep deprivation, any sleep is better than no sleep. But it's important to understand, Pills can be a bridge, a temporary support, but they're not teaching your body how to sleep naturally. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, sleep hygiene improvements, stress reduction. These address root causes and restore natural sleep architecture over time. If you're using medication and concerned about dependence or effectiveness, work with a healthcare provider on gradual reduction while simultaneously building natural sleep skills. Your goal isn't just more sleep, it's more restorative, natural deep sleep, the kind your biology evolved to generate on its own. Your circadian rhythm, your 24-hour biological clock, can drift when you're sad, especially if you're isolating or not seeing daylight. Light exposure, particularly morning sunlight, is the primary synchronizer of your circadian rhythm. When you're depressed and spending most time indoors, your internal clock loses its anchor to the external day-night cycle. You might start sleeping later and later, or your sleep-wake times become chaotic. Research from Northwestern University in 2025 found that people with depression who restored regular light exposure, 30 minutes of bright morning light within 2 hours of waking, showed normalized circadian rhythms within 2 weeks and increased deep sleep duration by an average of 23 minutes per night. The mechanism: morning light suppresses melatonin and strengthens the signal for when melatonin should rise again, 12 to 14 hours later. This creates a robust circadian rhythm that facilitates both falling asleep at night and achieving deep sleep. When you're sad, forcing yourself outside in the morning feels impossible. Everything is heavy. But this one action, getting morning light exposure, can kickstart a cascade of improvements in mood, energy, and sleep quality. Sometimes healing begins with something as simple as stepping into sunlight. The relationship between physical pain and emotional pain reveals why both require deep sleep for healing. Chronic physical pain and chronic sadness often co-occur, not coincidentally but because they share neural pathways. Both activate the anterior cingulate cortex. Both elevate inflammatory markers. Both disrupt sleep in similar ways. A 2024 meta-analysis examining over 50 studies found that people with chronic pain conditions show the same sleep disruptions as people with depression. Reduced deep sleep, increased REM sleep, and daytime fatigue. The treatments overlap too. Improving deep sleep reduces both pain intensity and depressive symptoms. This makes sense when you remember that deep sleep is when anti-inflammatory processes are strongest. Whether the inflammation is in your joints or your brain, the healing mechanism is the same. If you're dealing with both physical and emotional pain, addressing sleep isn't just about mood. It's about breaking the pain-sleep-mood cycle at the point where you have the most control. You may not be able to immediately resolve your sadness or eliminate physical pain, but you can create conditions for better deep sleep, and better deep sleep reduces both. Acceptance. Truly accepting that you need more sleep right now is itself therapeutic. Many people fight their increased sleep needs when sad, viewing it as laziness, weakness, or giving up. They force themselves awake, fill their days with activity, resist rest. This resistance creates secondary suffering. Not just the sadness itself, but guilt and shame about how the sadness is affecting behavior. Research from the University of Utah in 2024 on self-compassion and sleep found that people who accepted their changed sleep needs without judgment showed better sleep quality than those who fought against it. The acceptance group still slept more. That was their body's genuine need. But they slept more efficiently, with more deep sleep and less nighttime waking. The fighting group spent long hours in bed but with poor sleep quality. Caught between exhaustion and self-criticism, what if you simply accepted, right now, my body needs 10 hours of sleep. This is temporary. This is healing. There's no virtue in resisting what my body is asking for. That acceptance removes one layer of struggle, making the sleep you do get more restorative. Sleep pressure builds, according to mathematical principles discovered by sleep researcher Alexander Borbély. The two-process model of sleep regulation proposes that two independent processes govern when and how deeply you sleep. Process S is sleep pressure. The longer you're awake, the greater the pressure to sleep, rising exponentially. Process C is your circadian rhythm, the 24-hour cycle, making you naturally sleepy at night and alert during day. Healthy sleep occurs when these two processes align. High sleep pressure meeting the nighttime circadian dip. When you're sad, process S builds faster. Remember, adenosine accumulates more rapidly when your brain is working overtime, processing emotions. But process C may be disrupted if you're not getting light exposure, if stress is interfering with melatonin production, or if you're sleeping at irregular times. The result? Enormous sleep pressure, but mistimed relative to your circadian rhythm. You're exhausted at noon and weirdly alert at midnight. Understanding this model helps you strategically realign the two processes. Consistent wake times strengthen process C, while appropriate daytime activity builds process S. When they synchronize again, sleep, particularly deep sleep, becomes easier to achieve. There's archaeological evidence that humans once slept differently, before artificial light. In pre-industrial times, people commonly practiced biphasic sleep, sleeping in two distinct periods with a wakeful interval between. Research examining historical records and traditional cultures suggests that sleeping from approximately 9 p.m. to midnight, waking for 1 to 2 hours, then sleeping again until dawn was common. During the nighttime wakeful period, people prayed, meditated, had quiet conversations, or engaged in gentle activities. Modern sleep scientists studying this pattern found that the wakeful interval often occurred after the first major deep sleep cycle. Some researchers speculate this may have been a time of natural reflection and emotional processing. While this pattern isn't practical or necessary for most modern people, it offers perspective. There's no single correct way to sleep. If you wake in the middle of the night when sad, you're not necessarily doing something wrong. Your body might be following an ancient pattern or processing emotions between sleep cycles. Rather than panicking about being awake, treating it as natural, resting quietly without screens, often allows you to drift back into a second period of deep sleep. The longest recorded time without sleep is 11 days, and the person's mental state deteriorated profoundly. In 1964, 17-year-old Randy Gardner stayed awake for 264 hours as part of a science project, monitored by sleep researchers. By day 4, he experienced hallucinations. By day 7, paranoia. By day 11, he could barely function. Severe cognitive impairment, emotional instability, memory loss. Interestingly, after sleeping for 14 hours, he recovered significantly. though it took several weeks for complete recovery. This extreme example illustrates what happens in milder forms when you're sad and chronically sleep-deprived. You're not staying awake for 11 days, but you might be getting 4 to 5 hours of fragmented sleep for weeks. The deterioration is slower but follows similar patterns. Impaired judgment, emotional dysregulation, distorted thinking. The hopeful message: just as Randy recovered with sleep, your brain can recover too. The damage from sleep deprivation, even extended periods, is largely reversible with sufficient restorative sleep. Your current cognitive fog and emotional fragility aren't permanent. They're symptoms of sleep deprivation compounded by sadness. Both are treatable. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA, support both brain health and deep sleep. Your brain is nearly 60% fat, and the membranes of neurons are especially rich in DHA, an omega-3 fatty acid found in fatty fish, algae, and some nuts. Research from Oxford University in 2024 found that people with higher blood levels of DHA spend more time in deep sleep compared to those with lower levels. DHA reduces inflammation, supports neurotransmitter production, and helps regulate cortisol. When you're sad and possibly not eating well, omega-3 levels often decline, contributing to both mood and sleep disturbances. Supplementation with high-quality fish oil or algae-based omega-3s, typically 1 to 2 grams daily, shows modest but meaningful improvements in both depression scores and sleep quality within 8 to 12 weeks. This isn't a magic cure, but it addresses a foundational biochemical need. Your brain is trying to rebuild itself during deep sleep, but it needs the raw materials, the fatty acids, to construct healthy cell membranes and neurotransmitter receptors. Sometimes supporting deep sleep means supporting the basic nutrition your brain needs to heal. We now understand that deep sleep isn't just one thing. It's a complex, orchestrated program. Your brain waves slow into delta rhythms. Your body temperature drops. Growth hormone surges. The glymphatic system activates. Cortisol production pause. Synapses are pruned. Memories are consolidated. Inflammation decreases. Immune cells are replenished. All of this happens simultaneously. A coordinated symphony of restoration. When you're sad, you need more time for this entire program to run. Not just one piece of it. You can't biohack your way into getting all the benefits in less time. The program requires time to complete fully. This is why, even with perfect sleep hygiene, when you're sad, you might need 10 or 12 hours of sleep instead of the usual 7 or 8. Your body isn't broken. The program just needs more runtime to clear the backlog of damage that sadness has created. Respect the time it takes. Don't rush healing. Touch and physical affection increase oxytocin, which promotes both emotional bonding and deeper sleep. When you're sad, you might withdraw from touch, feeling undeserving, not wanting to burden others, or simply too numb to seek connection. But skin-to-skin contact, hugging, even petting an animal triggers oxytocin release, which has powerful effects on sleep quality. Research from the University of Virginia in 2024 found that 20 minutes of gentle touch before bed increased deep sleep duration by an average of 18 minutes. Oxytocin reduces activity in brain regions associated with anxiety and hypervigilance, making it easier to transition into deep sleep If you're isolated or alone, self-compassion practices, placing a hand on your heart, gentle self-massage, weighted blankets that simulate comforting pressure, can trigger similar neurochemical responses. Your body doesn't distinguish perfectly between being held by another and holding yourself gently. Both send signals of safety. And safety is the foundation that allows your nervous system to finally let go into deep sleep. Rumination is a form of mental hypervigilance. When you replay conversations, imagine worst-case scenarios, or analyze what went wrong. You're keeping your prefrontal cortex in problem-solving mode. Your brain believes there's a real threat that needs solving right now, so it refuses to power down. But most rumination isn't actually solving problems. It's spinning in circles, creating the illusion of productivity while generating anxiety. Research from Yale University in 2025 using neurofeedback showed that people can learn to recognize rumination patterns and intentionally shift brain activity away from the default mode network toward present moment awareness. The technique involves noticing when you're ruminating, labeling it. This is rumination, not problem solving, and redirecting attention to physical sensations. Breathing, body contact with the bed, sounds in the room. This isn't suppression. It's creating space between the thought pattern and your attention. With practice, this becomes easier, and the brain learns that not every thought requires immediate engagement. That learned disengagement during the day translates to better sleep at night. Your brain becomes more skilled at letting thoughts pass without grabbing onto them, allowing the descent into deep sleep to happen more naturally. Your ancestors survived terrible things. Wars, eased, raise, plagues, losses that would break most modern people, and they survived partly through sleep. When ancient humans faced trauma, their bodies did exactly what yours is doing now, demanded more rest, withdrew from activity, redirected energy toward internal healing. This wasn't considered weakness, it was considered necessary. In many traditional cultures, periods of deep grief included ritualized rest, sometimes for weeks or months. The community supported the grieving person's need to sleep more, eat less, withdraw temporarily from responsibilities. Modern culture has lost this wisdom, insisting that you maintain productivity, that you bounce back quickly, that extended rest is laziness. But your body hasn't received that memo. It's still following ancient programming that says, when your heart is broken, sleep longer. When your spirit is wounded, rest deeply. This is how healing happens. You're not weak for needing more sleep. You're human, following a healing pathway that served our species for hundreds of thousands of years. There's a concept in psychology called radical acceptance, accepting reality as it is, without judgment, even when it's painful, applied to sleep and sadness. Radically accepting that you're sad, that sadness requires more sleep, that you need what you need without shame. This isn't resignation or giving up. It's acknowledging reality so you can work with it rather than against it. Research from Seattle's Dialectical Behavior Therapy Research Group found that radical acceptance reduces the secondary suffering, the pain about the pain that often exceeds the original suffering. You're sad, primary suffering. Then you're ashamed of being sad, guilty about sleeping so much. frustrated with yourself for not being productive. Secondary suffering. The secondary suffering often hurts more and lasts longer. Radical acceptance says, "I'm sad right now. My body needs 10 hours of sleep." This is simply what is true. No judgment. From that place of acceptance, you can support your healing needs without fighting yourself. You can create conditions for deep sleep without the exhausting battle of self-criticism that typically prevents the very rest you need. Silence and darkness are not enemies. They're the conditions in which healing grows. Modern life fills every moment with light, sound, stimulation. When you're sad, those distractions might seem comforting, keeping loneliness and difficult feelings at bay. But they also prevent the deep rest your body needs. Darkness triggers melatonin. Silence allows your auditory system to rest. The absence of stimulation lets your sympathetic nervous system finally stand down, embracing darkness and quiet before sleep. No screens, no music, no podcasts. Can feel confronting. You're alone with your thoughts and feelings. But this is where deep sleep begins. Research from Johns Hopkins in 2024 found that people who maintained a 1-hour wind-down period of darkness and quiet before bed achieved deep sleep 35 minutes faster than those who used screens until bedtime. If you're using distraction to avoid feelings, they'll still be there in the morning. Possibly worse for being suppressed. But if you allow the feelings to be present in quiet darkness while resting your body, something shifts. You're not trying to fix or escape the feelings. You're simply coexisting with them peacefully. And from that coexistence, sleep emerges naturally. Meditation before sleep changes brain structure over time in ways that facilitate deeper sleep. Long-term meditators show increased gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex and insula, brain regions involved in attention control and body awareness. They also show decreased amygdala volume. Their emotional alarm system literally shrinks, becoming less reactive. These structural changes correlate with improved sleep quality, particularly more time in deep sleep. A 2025 study from Harvard Medical School found that even brief meditation, 10 minutes, nightly for 8 weeks, increased deep sleep duration by an average of 12 minutes per night. The practice doesn't need to be complex. Simply sitting or lying still, focusing on breath, gently returning attention when the mind wanders. You're training your brain in the skill that's most relevant to sleep, letting go of mental activity, returning to present moment awareness, not being controlled by thoughts. Each meditation session is practice for the surrender that allows deep sleep. Over weeks and months, your brain rewires, becoming more skilled at the release that makes deep rest possible. Your heart rate tells the truth about your stress level. Wearable devices can now track heart rate variability throughout the night, providing real-time feedback about nervous system state. High HRV during sleep indicates parasympathetic dominance. You're truly resting, truly healing. Low HRV indicates sympathetic activation, even during sleep. Your body is in defense mode. When you're sad, HRV typically plummets, reflecting chronic stress. But interventions that improve deep sleep, breathwork, meditation, exercise, good sleep hygiene, gradually increase HRV over weeks. Research from Stanford in 2024 found that people who tracked HRV and used it as biofeedback to guide their stress management showed greater improvements in both sleep quality and mood compared to those who didn't. Track. Seeing objective data that your efforts are working, that tonight's HRV was higher than last week's, provides motivation and hope. Your heart is quite literally showing you that healing is happening, even when you can't feel it yet. Numbers don't lie. Each night of improved HRV is proof that your nervous system is learning to rest more deeply. The concept of sleep debt is real, but slightly misunderstood. If you need 8 hours nightly but only get 6, you accumulate a 2-hour deficit. Over a week, that's 14 hours of lost sleep. Common wisdom suggests you can pay back sleep debt by sleeping extra on weekends. Research from the University of Colorado in 2024 complicates this. While extra weekend sleep does help partially, it doesn't fully restore cognitive function or emotional regulation. Moreover, sleeping vastly different hours on weekends versus weekdays disrupts circadian rhythms, creating social jet lag that makes Monday morning even harder. When you're sad, the sleep debt is often enormous. Weeks or months of inadequate deep sleep. You can't fix this in one weekend. Recovery requires consistent, adequate sleep over time. Aim for the same sleep schedule 7 days a week if possible. If you need 10 hours to heal right now, try to get 10 hours every night. Not 5 on weekdays and 15 on weekends. Consistency allows your body to establish predictable rhythms, making deep sleep easier to achieve. Healing isn't a sprint where you crash for one long sleep. It's a steady practice of giving your body what it needs, night after night, until the debt is paid and balance is restored. Children and animals rest instinctively when hurt or sick. No guilt. No shame, just simple biological wisdom. Watch a sick dog. It sleeps for days, eats little, conserves all energy for healing. Humans have this same instinct, but we've been socialized to override it. We're taught that rest is earned through productivity, that sleeping too much is laziness, that pushing through exhaustion is virtuous. This cultural conditioning works against biological reality. When you're sad, truly, deeply sad, your body is injured. Even if you can't see the wound, the injury is neurochemical, inflammatory, hormonal, but it's real. And just like any injury, it requires rest to heal. Imagine explaining to that sick dog that it should get up, be productive, stop being lazy. It would seem absurd. Yet this is what you're doing to yourself. Your inner critic is demanding productivity from a body that's trying desperately to heal. What if you gave yourself the same compassionate permission you'd give a child or animal? What if rest wasn't something to feel guilty about, but something to feel grateful for? This miraculous capacity your body has to heal itself while you sleep. We've now fully resolved the intellectual question. Your body needs more deep sleep when sad, because sadness creates widespread biological disruption. Inflammation, hormonal imbalance, neurotransmitter depletion, immune suppression, toxic accumulation, and structural brain changes. Deep sleep is the universal restoration program, the only state in which all these systems can simultaneously recalibrate and heal. The answer isn't mysterious or complicated. It's elegantly simple. Sleep is medicine. Deep sleep is the most potent form of that medicine. When you're sad, you need a higher dose. This need is not weakness. It's wisdom. You might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Feel the cycles. Day becomes night. Night becomes day. Wakefulness becomes sleep. Sleep becomes waking. All are circles, cycles, endless rhythms, like your breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. A small cycle within the vast universe. Sadness, too, is a cycle. It comes, it stays, it softens, it passes. You are also part of that eternal movement. You don't need to hold on to anything. You don't need to fix anything right now. Let everything unfold in its perfect order, like the moon silently rotating in its orbit, unhurried, unresisting, simply existing. We're almost there now. Now we move beyond science into something deeper, into meaning, into poetry, into the ultimate truth about rest and sadness. Sleep is more than biology. It's surrender. It's faith. It's trust that tomorrow will come, that darkness is safe, that you don't need to hold the world together every moment. When you're sad, sleep asks you to let go of control, to stop trying, to admit you cannot think or work your way through this. That's terrifying, but it's also liberating. You've been carrying such weight, trying so hard. Sleep says, put it down, just for tonight. Put everything down. Every night, billions of humans close their eyes and surrender to darkness. You're never alone in this. Across continents, time zones, ages, right now someone is sleeping, healing, releasing the day's pain into dreams. You're part of that vast, collective rest. When sleep feels lonely, remember, you're participating in an ancient, universal ritual. Humans have been sleeping through sadness for as long as our species has existed. You're following a path worn smooth by billions of footsteps. The sleep you seek tonight has been sought by every heartbroken person who ever lived, and they survived. You will too. Darkness is not absence, it's presence. The darkness of deep sleep is full of activity, full of healing, full of profound biological intelligence, working in ways your conscious mind cannot comprehend. When you close your eyes, you're not losing something. You're entering a different kind of consciousness where repair happens, where pain softens, where tomorrow is being built silently in the dark. Trust the darkness. It's not empty. It's where life prepares itself to grow again. Your body knows things your mind has forgotten. It remembers how to heal bones, fight infections, digest food, breathe without thinking. It also remembers how to heal sadness. Given the right conditions, those conditions are simple: safety, darkness, stillness, time. Your body will do the rest. You don't need to understand every mechanism. You just need to provide the space, the hours of sleep, and your biology will handle what you cannot. This is the deepest trust, believing that your body knows how to heal itself. There's a moment each night when wakefulness becomes sleep. You can never catch it. It happens in the space between attention and letting go. One moment you're aware, trying to sleep. The next moment, morning. The transition is invisible, instantaneous. This is the same surrender required for healing. You can't force it. You can only create conditions and then let go. Stop trying. Stop controlling. And in that release, healing begins. Sleep teaches you what therapy sometimes can't. That some things cannot be solved, only surrendered to. Rain falls, rivers flow, seasons change, the earth spins. You sleep. All of these are natural rhythms, not requiring permission or justification. Your need for deep sleep when sad is as natural as water flowing downhill. You're not breaking rules. You're following the oldest rule. That life heals itself through cycles of activity and rest, wounding and recovery, breaking and mending. You're in a natural cycle. Trust it. Nature offers us metaphors. Trees grow in darkness underground before they break through soil into sunlight. Seeds rest in frozen earth all winter before spring wakes them. Caterpillars dissolve completely inside cocoons before becoming butterflies. Nature is full of examples of transformation requiring darkness. Rest. Apparent death before new life. You're in a cocoon period. It feels like nothing is happening. Like you're just sad and sleeping. But invisible transformation is occurring. In the darkness of deep sleep, you're being remade. Trust the process, even when you can't see the butterfly yet. Some cultures believe sleep is when the soul travels, processing lessons from life, visiting other realms, meeting with guides or ancestors. Whether you believe this literally or metaphorically, there's truth in it. During sleep, you access parts of yourself unavailable during waking consciousness. You integrate experiences, make sense of confusion, find perspective you couldn't find while awake. Sleep is a journey inward. When you're sad, you need longer journeys. You have more to process, more inner distance to travel. Let yourself take that journey. Babies sleep 16 to 18 hours daily because they're building a brain from scratch. Elderly people sleep less because their brains need less construction. You, right now, need extra sleep because you're rebuilding. Sadness has damaged neural connections, depleted chemicals, disrupted systems. Your brain is essentially under renovation. Construction requires the site to be closed. You can't renovate a building while people are walking through it. Similarly, your brain can't fully rebuild while you're conscious, thinking, moving, engaging. It needs closed hours, sleep hours, to do the deep work. The scaffolding goes up at night. Be patient with the construction. There's no virtue in suffering without rest. Some people wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, proof they're trying hard, caring deeply, taking life seriously. But exhaustion isn't evidence of virtue. Sometimes it's evidence of fear. Fear that if you rest, everything will fall apart. Fear that you don't deserve rest. Fear that stopping means giving up. But rest isn't giving up. Rest is the opposite. It's refusing to give up on your own well-being. It's saying, I matter enough to care for. My health is worth protecting. That's not weakness. That's the beginning of healing. You're not broken. Your brain is responding exactly as it should to difficult circumstances. Increased sleep need isn't malfunction. It's intelligent adaptation. Your body is saying, this situation requires more internal resources than usual. We need to redirect energy from external activity to internal healing. Sleep more. That's not pathology. That's brilliance. Your body is brilliant. Even when your mind doubts everything, your body knows. Listen to it. Healing isn't linear. Some nights you'll sleep deeply, wake refreshed, feel hope returning. Other nights, sadness will win. Sleep will be broken, and morning will feel like failure. That's normal. Healing curves upward over time, but zigs and zags along the way. One bad night doesn't erase progress. Keep supporting your deep sleep needs, even on hard days. The accumulated nights of good sleep matter more than individual setbacks. Trust the overall direction, not individual moments. Your sadness is valid. Whatever caused it, loss, disappointment, trauma, chemical imbalance, life circumstances, it's real, and it matters. And because it's real and matters, the healing it requires is also real and necessary. You're not overreacting by needing more sleep. You're responding proportionally to genuine pain. Honor that. Give yourself the care your pain deserves. There's a kind of courage in sleeping when you're sad. It means facing tomorrow, trusting that you'll wake up and have the strength to try again. Some nights, staying awake feels safer. Time is suspended. No new failures possible. But sleeping means accepting that time moves forward, that tomorrow comes whether you're ready or not, and choosing to rest, to restore yourself for that tomorrow, is an act of quiet hope. You're preparing to meet the next day. That's courage. So could deep sleep change how you experience sadness? It already has. Every night of deep sleep softens the edges, clears the fog, rebuilds what breaks during the day. Sadness will probably still be there tomorrow, but you'll face it with a brain that's clearer, a body that's rested, a nervous system that's calmer. The sadness is the same. You're different, stronger, more resilient, because you slept. Imagine your sadness as a storm. You can't control the storm, when it comes, how hard it rains, how long it lasts, but you can control whether you have shelter. Deep sleep is shelter. It doesn't stop the storm, but it gives you a place to rest while the storm passes. And storms always pass. They feel eternal in the moment, but they're temporary. Sleep gives you shelter until the clearing comes. Some of the wisest, most creative, most compassionate people in history have experienced profound sadness and needed extended rest to recover. Churchill called it his black dog. Lincoln struggled with melancholy throughout his life. Frida Kahlo painted from bed during long recoveries. Your need for rest doesn't diminish you. It places you in company with humans who transformed their pain into meaning, partly because they honored their body's needs for recovery time. There's a Buddhist teaching, rest in natural great peace. This exhausted mind, beaten helplessly by thoughts and emotions, like the relentless fury of the pounding waves. That's what deep sleep is. Natural great peace, where your exhausted mind finally rests. The waves keep crashing, but you've found solid ground beneath the chaos. Every night, that ground is available. You just have to lie down and let it hold you. Childhood lullabies exist in every culture. Humans have always known that soothing sounds, gentle rhythms, and soft voices help induce sleep. When you're sad, You might need those lullabies again. Not literally singing, but the same principle: gentleness, rhythm, soothing tones. Someone, even yourself, saying softly, "It's okay. You can rest now. You're safe. Sleep will come." Create your own lullaby through self-compassion, through gentle nighttime routines, through treating yourself the way you'd treat a suffering child, with tenderness, patience, and unconditional permission to rest. The moon waxes and wanes. The tide rises and falls. Light becomes dark, becomes light again. And you move through cycles of waking and sleeping, hurting and healing, breaking and mending. You're part of these eternal rhythms. When you sleep deeply, you're synchronizing with the oldest patterns in the universe. You're not separate from nature. You are nature, following its wisest law. Rest is not optional. It's essential. If sadness is the question, deep sleep is part of the answer, not the whole answer. There's therapy, connection, time, possibly medication, certainly self-compassion, but sleep is foundational. Without adequate deep sleep, everything else is harder. With it, everything else becomes possible. Your body has been trying to tell you this, through exhaustion, through craving rest, through increased sleep need. It's been whispering, then speaking, then shouting. Sleep more. Sleep deeply. This is how you'll heal. You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to be productive enough, good enough, suffering enough to deserve sleep. Rest is your birthright as a living being. Order. Trees don't question whether they've earned winter dormancy. Bears don't justify their hibernation. And you? You don't need to justify your body's need for deep sleep. You are alive. You are struggling. Therefore, you deserve rest. It's that simple. Every ending contains a beginning. Every exhale precedes an inhale. Every sunset promises sunrise. And every night of sleep ends in waking. You will wake. The question is, will you wake from restorative deep sleep, with your brain clearer and body stronger? Or will you wake from restless half-sleep, still carrying yesterday's exhaustion? The choice, tonight and every night, is which kind of waking you're preparing for. Choose deep sleep. Choose restoration. Choose healing. The real change isn't in the sadness. It's in you. You've learned that sadness isn't a character flaw, but a biological state requiring biological solutions. You've learned that your body is trying to heal you through sleep, not betray you with exhaustion. You've learned that deep sleep is medicine, that rest is wisdom, that surrender is strength. The sadness may or may not have changed, but you're different. You understand now. An understanding changes everything. So here is the ultimate truth, the answer we've been traveling toward. You need more deep sleep when you're sad, because sadness reveals how desperately you need what you've always needed. Rest, restoration, the permission to not be okay for a while, the trust that darkness heals. Sadness is your body's way of saying, stop, rest, heal. You can't keep going like this. And deep sleep is the answer to that call. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to finally listen. And so, our quiet journey through sadness and sleep comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the chemistry of tears that signals your body to rest, to the glymphatic tides that wash through your sleeping brain, discovering along the way that your increased need for deep sleep isn't weakness. It's your body's most intelligent response to emotional pain. From inflammatory molecules requiring nighttime cleansing, to the profound surrender that allows delta waves to wash over your tired mind, we've glimpsed how sleep and sadness are intertwined, each responding to the other in an ancient dance of breaking and mending. Sleep reminds us that healing requires surrender, not control. Much of the restoration happens in darkness, in silence, in the space between thoughts. Deep sleep demonstrates patience, showing us that some wounds don't heal quickly but gradually, night after night, through the accumulation of small repairs. Without rest, no other healing can take hold. By honoring your body's need for more deep sleep when sad, you're not giving up. You're participating in the oldest healing wisdom our species possesses. In these final moments, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about unity of every healing cell, every calming breath, every moment of rest across the universe. You are not separate. You are a link in the endless chain of beings who have suffered, rested, and healed. Think about every person sleeping right now, across the world, seeking the same peace you seek. You are part of that vast ocean of consciousness. All of us resting together, healing together. Let your entire being dissolve into the ocean of sleep, into dreamless rest, into the space before thought, where sadness cannot reach you. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left, only peace. This thoughtful exploration of sleep and sadness may bring understanding or comfort to others searching for the same peace. A gentle like and subscribe helps other weary souls discover this same sanctuary. It might be exactly what another tired mind needs to finally let go and rest. One quiet tap, one peaceful night at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, deeper into understanding than most journeys take you. You can allow these thoughts of sleep and sadness to fade now, like morning mist dissolving in sunlight, leaving only the gentle calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if gravity itself is pulling you gently down into the earth, into safety, into rest. If sleep comes, let it carry you like ocean waves pulling back from shore, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where sadness softens and time disappears. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue this journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, your body will still be healing. Your brain will still be rebuilding. But tonight belongs to deep sleep, to surrender, to the trust that rest is medicine and darkness is healing. Rest well, sleepy soul. And remember, needing more sleep when you're sad isn't weakness. It's your body's wisdom, calling you home to healing. Good night.